Argentina's president calls out global leaders in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And if you didn't know, Argentina went from one of the richest countries in the world to 100% inflation, with half of their population now living in poverty. I think we could probably learn from the new president of Argentina, and I'm gonna break down his speech for all of you with 3 main takeaways from the speech. I recommend go watching it yourself. It's about 26 minutes, but let's get into some of the things that we can learn outside of just the fact of how courageous this was for him to do after Klaus Schwab actually invites him up and introduces him. But let's get into the 3 main points. Number 1, capitalism being the only economic system to radically reduce or eradicate poverty. He said from when it was created, the idea, of course, first birthed by the inception of America back in 1776, and he used the statistics of going from the world being 95% of the population being in poverty to today 5%. And the World Bank says that those living in poverty are living off $1.90 to $2.15 a day. And to give you some additional statistics, from 1990, 2 billion people were living in poverty till 2019, around 500 million people living in poverty. That's a drastic reduction. Why? The idea of the economic system that is capitalism, which is free enterprise, which is private property, meaning that the government doesn't own and operate everything, which historically was how all economies worked. The government owned all the property, the government owned all of the goods and services. And so capitalism being the free market, being the only economic system to drastically reduce poverty. Weird that most governments are now saying capitalism is the problem when you look historically. It's actually been the solution far and greater than anything else. Number 2, during that same time period where poverty has been drastically reduced, the population has actually grown. What does this do? This totally deteriorates the argument that more people equals more poverty, where you'll read this as even far years ago with Paul Ehrlich's population bomb saying the more people on the earth will create more poverty. Fast forward to today, more people on the earth actually has reduced poverty. Statistics and historically to today, this has been proven incorrect. And what I'll share with you, the same statistics I just said, 1990, 5.3 billion people on the earth till 2019, 8.1 billion people on the earth. That's an increase of 3 billion people. Yet, poverty has decreased. Again, he stood up there and said that, which totally goes against the movement today that is saying more people equals more poverty. Number 3, government is the problem. It is not the solution. And he says it's not greater freedom, but greater regulation that creates downward spiral of dependency where we will all be dependent on bureaucrats. They want us to believe that they will solve all of our problems. Give the government more power, give them more authority over each decision, over property, over the market. The solution is always the same. However, our problems don't get better in countries where the government controls everything. Argentina is a great example of that. Going from one of the richest countries in the world to 100% inflation, half of the country now in poverty. You look at countries like America still having our problems and our issues, but when the people have the freedom to create businesses, when the people have the freedom to own property, there's actually more prosperity. The government is not the solution, it's the problem. And historically, countries where the government has all the control, they have the most poverty. In his speech, he sums it up by saying economic freedom, limited government, and unlimited respect for private property are essential elements of economic growth. That is capitalism. Capitalism is the free enterprise, the free market for individuals to own property, to own the fruits of their labor, to have ability to own goods and services where it's not centralized by the government. That was his first point, capitalism being the economic source of freedom, the economic source to eliminate poverty, which was number 2. As it's been adopted across the world, poverty has actually gone down. And number 3, not looking for the government to be the solution to everything. They actually tend to be the problem. So more regulation does not equal more freedom. More regulation actually equals less freedom and more dependency. And you need economic freedom, limited government, and respect for private property for economic growth. And he ends by saying, "Y viva la libertad, carajo." Long live freedom. It is such a courageous and a profound speech, especially in the way that he delivered it. When we look at the data and the statistics and the actual economies across the globe, many of them, if not all of them, are completely counterintuitive to what they are projecting on stage from the world leaders, that it's actually independence, it's actually freedom, it's actually deregulation that creates freedom, prosperity, and eliminates poverty. So what an incredible speech. How much courage this actually takes to speak something like that, especially on the global stage in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And for anyone who wants a deeper understanding in everything that's going on, pay attention. This year is going to be the year of chaos. There are so many elections, so many things going on, and it is up for you, the individual, to pay attention and to support leaders like the President of Argentina, who's going to stand up for what he believes, speak facts, even if it's against what most world leaders are saying, because he's doing what is right. So again, check out the video if you haven't watched it. And if you like this video, like, share, subscribe if you found it useful, or if you have anything to say, put it in the comments. We'd love to read. And again, thank you for joining me today. And as President of Argentina said, long live freedom.